Hey there, fellow yoga teachers. Today we're talking about something I know many of us struggle with: teaching yoga with confidence when our minds won't stop racing. Picture this: you're standing at the front of the room and suddenly your brain goes into overdrive. Am I cueing the right side? Is my sequence balanced? What if they think I'm not experienced enough? Sound familiar? After teaching thousands of classes and training hundreds of yoga teachers through the years, I have seen this pattern time and time again, and I have definitely experienced it myself. Heck, I literally heard these thoughts in my own head yesterday while subbing a class at the studio I own, where I've been teaching yoga for 21 years. So it's a human thing, not necessarily something to overcome through sheer force of will. Instead, your nerves are something to work with, not to work against. Because here's the good news: overcoming teaching anxiety is not about being perfect. It's about finding practical strategies to get out of your head and back into the room with your students. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share 5 specific steps that will help you stop overthinking and teach with authentic confidence. These aren't just feel-good tips. They're practical techniques drawn from both yoga philosophy and modern teaching psychology that you can implement in your very next class. Step 1 is about acceptance and preparation. Let's start with a reality check. Your nerves are natural. You don't need to know it all. You just need to have a plan and guide your students. Teaching yoga is not brain surgery or landing a jet plane. Keep it simple, smile, and leave lots of time for students to go inward. Don't fill every moment with the sound of your voice out of a desire to prove your worth. Instead, issue a clear direction, then be quiet and let the students enjoy their practice. Here's where smart preparation comes in. While you need to have a plan for your class, you should also avoid over-planning. It's about finding the right middle ground between effort and ease. It's yoga. You have to balance sthira, stability, control, and structure, with sukha, flexibility, adaptability, and freedom. I suggest identifying a clear opening and closing ritual that you're comfortable with so your class is bookended, key movements and poses that will form the pillars of your sequence following my 6-4-2 framework referenced in my book, The Art of Yoga Sequencing, and one central theme or focus that ties the practice together. This isn't about scripting your entire class, but instead about creating touch points that you can return to. These are anchors for your confidence in class. You could write these down on a small note card if needed. It's not cheating, it's professional preparation. Any student should be delighted to see that their teacher has put advanced thought into the lesson plan. Let me share an experience I had in my second ever public yoga class. It was the day after I taught my first ever public yoga class. I was an emergency substitute for my teacher, Brian. I went to take the class and then I wound up teaching it when he had car trouble. Throughout the class, I kept apologizing for not teaching the same poses in the same way as Brian. The next day, 2 students who were school teachers approached me offering feedback. They said something that changed my teaching forever, and I heard this after only my second class. We could see that you weren't Brian, so you didn't need to apologize for not being Brian. What an important lesson to learn early on. I was comparing myself to the regular teacher, which undermined my own authentic teaching. It was obvious to the room that I was a different teacher. I didn't need to point out all the ways I wasn't him. Instead, I needed to be sage, authentically and without apology. When you accept that you just need to be you, you'll feel more confident and more able to get out of your own head. Step 2 is adopting what I think of as a different mindset about your role as a yoga teacher. Instead of seeing yourself as a performer, focus on being a guide for your students. Now, most new teachers are like corals in the ocean. They're fixed in place on their mats, rooted and unmoving. This can be boring for your students and keep them from feeling seen, especially if you combine it with the rookie mistake of dropping into your own practice and closing your eyes. But again, we're looking for a middle path, Because you also don't want to be like a shark, constantly circling the room, making students nervous with your continuous movement. Instead, be like a fish. Move some, pause some. Take your time to move slowly and lightly through the room and to pause in different areas. You'll see much more when you move through the room than when you're clinging to your mat like a life raft. And when you see clearly, you can guide clearly. Here's a key insight from my own yoga teacher training. It started in 2003. Nothing lets go unless it feels supported. This applies not just to physical poses, but also to the teaching experience itself. Think about a child who receives a glowing report at preschool pickup, but then becomes a holy terror for the rest of the evening. It's because they felt supported at home. Or imagine you've kept it together during a bad day at work, but you walk in the door and one kind word from your partner sets you bawling. You've held it in until you felt supported. Without compassionate support, the body, especially the muscles and the nervous system, will hold tension in. Only in the presence of true support do we feel free to let our burdens down. This applies to both your students and to you as the teacher. Here's how to implement. When you feel yourself getting stuck in your head, stuck to your mat like a coral planted in the ocean floor, deliberately seek eye contact with several students. Making eye contact with your students is critical. Even though it can be difficult when you're also trying to observe alignment, your students want to be seen. If they didn't want to be seen, they would be practicing at home with a video. Challenge yourself to make regular eye contact with each of your students and to smile as you do. They will feel your support and you will also feel their support coming back. If this level of eye contact is difficult, practice at home. Practice with your peers, practice with your friends, practice with your family until it grows more comfortable. Less than 1 second of eye contact with a smile goes a very long way in the yoga classroom, both for your students and for your own confidence. Speaking of corals, when it comes to demonstrations, less can be more. While some forms of group exercise, like step aerobics or spinning, do better with the teacher participating alongside students, in many forms of yoga, the teacher simply leads and watches the students. Imagine going to a restorative yoga class and having the teacher take and execute each pose for the duration. It would be absurd. Keep your practice and your teaching distinct. Your yoga class is not your yoga practice. If you need to demo, and there are some classes where it makes complete sense, like beginner classes and trauma-informed yoga classes, keep in mind that it is still just a demo. Keep your eyes on the class. You're looking for the opposite of pratyahara, of the sensory withdrawal that your own practice would encourage. Instead, keep your eyes on the room. Step 3 is about creating a safe, supportive environment. Remember, nothing lets go unless it feels supported. When your students feel truly supported, they can release their tension and fully experience their practice. Similarly, when you as a teacher feel supported by your training, by your preparation, by your experience, you can release the need to overthink and perform perfectly. While yoga spent centuries as an oral culture with many rules passed down from teacher to student, I suggest we question these rules. Once you have gained some comfort with the basic elements of your class, undertake a reasoned investigation of which rules you may be conferring on your students and whether they actually apply. Don't simply repeat things because they're what you've heard. Instead, offer guidance because it has been proven through your own study and through your own practice. Your experience and your curiosity should guide you. I believe there are very few hard and fast rules in yoga. Through years of study while working to keep an open mind, I've come to these 3 core beliefs. Number 1, be clear on why you're doing what you're doing. Constantly ask why. You should be able to justify any movement or any technique, and for fun is a fine reason. Number 2, no movement is inherently bad or wrong. Doing any movement too much will lead to injury. Find the appropriate dose of stress. And number 3, students are the ones responsible for caring for their needs. Everything you mention as a teacher is a suggestion, and it's your students who must make their own choices. You aren't imposing your will on them, you're centering your students' agency. When you know your own rules, you'll feel more confident walking into every yoga classroom. Step 4. Step 4 in building confidence is simplifying your language when you are talking. Overthinking often manifests as over-talking. Think about these common fillers that you hear in every yoga class. And now, from here, we're gonna, or the triple whammy, and now from here we're gonna, so, actually, just. Usually these phrases can simply be cut with nothing to replace them. Clear, concise cueing is both more effective for the students and easier on your nervous system as the teacher. Less is more. Embrace silence in your teaching because you aren't being paid by the word. Don't fear silence. Your students need it. That's what they have come for. They are there to go inward. And if you're talking, you're interfering with that inward withdrawal, the process of inner connection. Teaching yoga is not like delivering stand-up or announcing the news on the radio or giving a talk at the United Nations. There's no such thing as dead air, and it's okay to be silent. When you don't know what to say nothing. When you do know what to say, give time for your students to process it. Constantly aim for more silence, less talking. You'll recognize experienced teachers because they are good at keeping their mouths shut. The more nervous you feel, the more quiet time you should allow in class. When you get your language right, your timing will improve too. I will admit that like most yoga teachers, I often go faster on the second side. This happens for various reasons, prime among them that we've said all our best cues on the first side and we haven't grown comfortable with silence, or that we've mismanaged our time and we can see the clock ticking down. Once you recognize these common reasons, then you can begin to correct them. Don't recite a laundry list of everything you know about a pose at its introduction. Instead, save some of your cues for the second side, or the next round, or the next class, or the next week, or the next month. Give no more than 3 instructions on the first side. If they land well, students won't need much direction on the second side. Here's a simple way to approach your language in teaching. Work from the ground up. In a physical description of a pose, start from the ground, the feet, the hands and feet, or whatever is in contact with the mat. Then from this space, choose another 1, 2, or maybe 3 actions, or areas for students to be aware of. More than 3 or 4 cues in any shape is too many for students to process, especially if you're teaching a movement-based class. Don't try to prove yourself by mentioning everything you know about a shape. Instead, give your students just enough to guide them to their own decisions. The final step in getting out of your head and feeling confident in class is embracing progressive change over instant perfection. This is your way out of imposter syndrome, out of that creeping sense that you are a phony about to be exposed to the world. Our yoga teacher trainees often ask me, when did you stop feeling like a fraud? And this question always makes me smile because it presumes that I ever stopped. Some days I still feel like I'm not experienced enough or perky enough or whatever enough to lead my students. And I do it anyway. On those days, I teach from what I do know. And I always remember that the class is not about me. It's for my students. They are the heroes, and I am just the guide. Let's bring these 5 steps together. Accept nerves are normal and prepare with some anchor points, your touchstones for your practice. Find the right way to hold the space. Move like a fish, not like a coral, and not like a shark. Create support for yourself and for your students. Less is more. Cut the filler words and simplify your language. That way you'll feel more confident in the things you do say. And finally, embrace the reality that overthinking is part of the journey. Remember that your students are not coming to yoga class for a perfect performance. They're coming for your authentic guidance through their own experience. When you shift from self-consciousness to student service, confidence naturally follows. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 steps resonates most? And what's one small change you'll implement in your next class? Drop it in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please tap the like button and subscribe for more practical teaching tips. You'll see that Season 1 of my podcast, Yoga Teacher Confidential, is all about confidence in the classroom, and you can watch it right here on my YouTube channel. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. You got this, and I'll see you on the mat.